Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, your Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is June 27th, and today we're taking a look at that marine layer moving up the coastline. You can see its advance overnight tonight, moving into the coastal valleys there and really cooling down the coast today. But it's not going to save the interior of the Puget Sound and Willamette Valley from another very warm day and downright hot in eastern Washington, with some readings getting up over 100 degrees here. You can see this upper level low out here that did trigger some convection over Oregon yesterday. Had about at least 6 thunderstorms that I saw. The models did not handle that very well. So we have that potential again today, mainly across some of the Oregon, Washington Cascades. Even the Olympic Mountains showed a little bit of that convective activity. And this includes British Columbia as well, and maybe even some of the northern Cascades, Okanagan Highlands. We'll see how this plays out tonight. Very tough to pick out these features before they occur, but there is the chance for some convection again today, as there was yesterday across some of the Oregon Cascades and on through eastern Oregon. Now, taking a look at things here, this is for Quileute River Resort Cam. You can see the marine layer is in effect there. You can see the temperature only 56 degrees, a much cooler day for the coastal areas out there. So if you want to beat the heat, get out to the coast. Checking out La Push, Washington, just showing you the marine layer there. Great place if you want to visit out there, about 15 miles west of Forks, Washington. Great place right up against the coast there. This is Seattle Coldwater, or Spokane Coldwater Safety. Just bringing it up. I've heard of a couple potential drownings here in the last day or two. So heads up if you guys are out and about, especially in those rivers running high and cold. And you can see Spokane here also calling for the chance of rain and isolated thunderstorms, Cascades, northern mountains, gusty winds, lightning, brief heavy rain. So they are coming up on this potential for that convective activity, which could be over the Cascades of Washington too, and maybe even the Olympics and portions of British Columbia and Oregon as well. Seattle, Tacoma, just talking about the cold water too. The air may be warm, but the water is cold, so heads up. Pendleton, Oregon, calling for the heat advisory out there. They're checking out some of these temperatures up towards high heat potential risk for some of the Columbia Basin there, Hermiston, Tri-Cities, Walla Walla, etc. Now looking at Seattle yesterday, we did hit that rare 90-degree mark, but nothing like what we hit last year of 102. And this date last year, we set the all-time record high temperature of 104 in 2021. We're not going to get there today, but we could hit 90 again for Seattle. And then we beat the all-time record high the very next day, June 28th, 2021, of 108. We're not going to be anywhere near that. We could be 40 degrees colder than that tomorrow. Now, taking a look at the pressures around the region here, you can see that the pressures have fallen off quite a bit, and that thermal trough is kind of muddled now, and it's pretty much centered kind of over the Cascades. So that's what's going to kick this marine push inland and eventually bring that marine air on into the evening and afternoon today and start to cool off the Willamette Valley, Puget Sound, Southwest BC, Vancouver Island quite dramatically tonight, and you're really going to feel it tomorrow morning. We're probably going to be down into the 50s and some nice gusty southwesterly winds. You will definitely see the change coming and feel it. Another warm day tomorrow for eastern Washington, probably up first 90. We'll check out some of those temperatures here right now, in fact. Now, here's the high temperature for today here on the GFS. Let's back up a little bit. And you can see it's calling for that low to mid 90s for some of the areas of the Puget Sound, the Willamette Valley, where the marine push should start to intrude on a little bit quicker than the Puget Sound. But you can see the coastal regions much cooler than yesterday and downright hot in eastern Washington, up towards 100, maybe even a little more. But then the change comes rapidly as we go on into tomorrow morning. As you can see, the Willamette Valley, Puget Sound, Vancouver, BC, Vancouver Island just start to cool down dramatically here as we warm back up again towards the upper 80s for eastern Washington. But this isn't a bad day across much of the region here as we go on in through the day Tuesday. Mid 70s is not bad at all. And check out as we go towards the weekend, the GFS is calling for a nice day Friday, 80s for Seattle and Portland. 90s for eastern Washington, and again for Saturday, some very nice temperatures. So pretty good weather coming up, not a lot of precipitation or anything. So summer has finally arrived here in the Pacific Northwest. Here's the HRRR 3KM. I wanted to show you. This goes hour at a time here, and it kind of tops us out about 89 for Seattle. Similar for Portland, maybe just towards 90 degrees. But then you can see the temperatures just crash as we go on in through the overnight hours. And by Tuesday morning, we're really chilly across western Washington and western Oregon. That marine push just comes rolling through the area here. And this highlights the winds. As we go through the morning hours here, you can see that we're finally on shore, but it's very weak, so it's not going to save us from that warm day in Portland and Seattle. But then as we go through the afternoon and evening hours, you'll see how these winds kick in here out of the southwest, and that's that classic marine push signature that's going to be moving through west of the Cascades here, really cool us down. Now this one, let's see, we'll skip by the HRRR there. And we'll check this out. Let's go back to the HER here. And I wanted to do this one here. We're going to do surface temperature. We're going to do 3-hour change. Now, checking this out, as we go through the afternoon hours here, you can see that this is the change. So in this example, SeaTac would have warmed 9 degrees in the previous 3, 11 degrees there, 12 degrees there, and so on. So as we go through the afternoon hours here, you can kind of see we peak here at about 0Z, about 5 p.m., and then look at the temperature changes coming here. A 14-degree drop for Seattle and Portland here in about 3 hours as of about 9 o'clock tonight. So you're definitely going to feel this cooler air moving into the region here. It's like somebody just kicked on the air conditioning unit here across the Pacific Northwest as this marine influence really rolls in. And you're going to wake up Tuesday morning if you're not up tonight, and you're definitely going to feel the difference coming up here. So checking out a little bit of the extended here, checking out the European, it just shows the most brief spot of a little bit of precip over some of the Cascades here. So it's a very subtle feature here, and it was doing the same thing yesterday, but there was those thunderstorms through Oregon. So there's going to be that chance this afternoon and tonight and in through tomorrow for some convection, especially up towards British Columbia. You can see some pretty good precipitation values falling across there as this system finally kind of kicks through a very weak low pressure there. And as we go through the extended, there's really not a signal for much precipitation into our future here, as is kind of typical for the Pacific Northwest in the summertime here. So take a look at the mean ridge and trough height positions here. Here goes our ridge finally breaking down, end of our heat wave, marine push, upper level trough moves through, and then we build this ridge back up. And this trough is not going to be a big weather maker for us. In fact, we're probably going to have some pretty decent weather this weekend here. And that's just kind of how we roll here in the Pacific Northwest in the summertime. We're just not, these systems have lost quite a bit of their punch by this time of the year here. So for the 4th of July, the early models show it might not be too bad, but we'll check back on that. We're still a ways away from the 4th of July forecast here. So yeah, let's just be patient on that one. The GFS calling for 93 here for Seattle. Then you can see Tuesday, Wednesday, a big cool down. Check this out, 25 degrees potentially. And then a nice weekend coming up here before maybe another little bit of a cool down, and then back towards above average temperatures through the extended. But of course, we'll watch that as we come upon it. And here's the GFS. You can see that model agreement is pretty good here through the weekend. So it looks like a pretty nice weekend coming up here, folks. Portland calling for a high of 89, then the cool down with the marine push, then a little bit of a recovery for the weekend here, then maybe another bit of some onshore flow going on for Sunday, Monday for Portland, but this is still a bit out. We'll watch this as it comes as well, and then more towards normal temperatures and through the extended. Just checking out Portland on the European here, kind of highlighting the very small amounts of precipitation, light amounts as we go on in through early July here, and that's just kind of the signature of the summers here in the Pacific Northwest. Now talking about convection here, as we look at the European here, it did pick up that convection that was going through the Oregon Cascades yesterday quite nicely, and you can see it paints some of that similar activity going on. This time it includes Washington Cascades, some of the Eastern Oregon Highlands, British Columbia, especially the higher terrain. You can see it highlights the Olympic Mountains even a little bit there too, and you can see that kind of moving up the Cascades. And check this out, looks like it almost gets over the lowlands a little bit here. That would be north and west of Mount Rainier here. So we're going to have to watch this convective potential as we go through the day here. And another thing that can do too is once we get these higher clouds and maybe some convective clouds, we can actually keep the temperature a little bit cooler than what was forecast. So we'll have to watch for that during the day. That's going to be a nowcast situation. And this is the HER. As we move through on this, it doesn't show much of the way of precipitation until you can see a little bit tonight firing up over some of the slopes of the Cascades into western Washington, British Columbia here. But again, these features are so subtle, sometimes the models just have a hard time handling these systems. And this is the NAM3KM. As we move this through this afternoon, you can see a little bit of spiking of some kind of precipitation going on here. I wouldn't count out a lightning strike, definitely for the Cascades of Washington, Oregon into British Columbia here this afternoon. That's for sure, though. You can see that signature for some of these potential thunderstorms moving through. And then as we go overnight hours, you can see, I wouldn't be surprised if there are thunderstorms moving up the eastern slopes of the Cascades into the Okanagan Highlands and then into British Columbia as we go through Tuesday morning. And then Tuesday afternoon, you can see even some stronger thunderstorms pushing off through eastern British Columbia into Alberta, possibly Montana, as we really cool down with some light precipitation, mainly for the higher terrain around western Washington. So that's what's going on. You guys can see the extent of this low level cloud layer that's kind of infiltrated the entire west coast, moving in the valleys there. Some high clouds over the region could keep us from reaching 90 today, mainly for Seattle and Portland. And then that marine influence is definitely going to just chop these temperatures down as we go on then through this evening and tonight. And by tomorrow morning, it's going to be like waking up in a different world. It's going to be much chillier. It's going to be kind of breezy, and probably some low clouds around much of the Willamette Valley and the Puget Sound as this marine air starts to push into the region. So watch out if you're in the backcountry this afternoon and evening for those potential thunderstorms. Washington, Oregon Cascades up through British Columbia, Okanagan Highlands, and even eastern portions of Oregon and Washington could get on the action too. Even the Olympic Mountains might get a thunderstorm this evening. So heads up for that. Watch the sky, watch those clouds build, and make sure to take cover if those storms do start firing there. So we'll do this again tomorrow. We'll check out that weekend forecast, and we will see what's coming. If you guys haven't already, like and subscribe to the page, please. You guys are doing awesome. You make this page possible. I appreciate you all, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.